Hello, my fellow comic book collectors. Today's going to be a really fun interview. I do this show with Biggie Shack, and we talk with other awesome collectors. And one of the guys that's on the show, he has like probably the best uh, collection for a very particular topic. But he also collects a whole bunch of other things. He's a collector, but he has like one of the best collections of one particular thing, and he'll explain that when I show him on the video. But without further ado, uh, I want to welcome to the show DeRunk. Hi.
Going.
DeRunk. This is his channel. So so tell me a little bit about yourself and like how you got into collecting comics.
Well, I'm from Minnesota. My dad kind of was always a big Superman fan. So
Okay.
when I was just a little guy back in the '90s, Superman died. That was a big comic book event, and
That's a good way to start.
yeah,
Start with that.
and spoiler for the '90s, but yeah, no, it led me to watching Superman movies, and then Batman the animated series and the X-Men cartoon, and that led me to read Batman comic books and X-Men comic books, and then I got into the Clone Saga, which is the character that you were referencing that I'm very
Yeah.
known for collecting. But I only brought a few of those to the interview today. I got some on the wall behind me, but
Okay.
that's pretty much all people
Kind of
know me
associate
for.
with.
Yeah, so I brought a different selection of books to show this time.
I mean, actually, when I checked out your Instagram, like you're always like taking pictures with some pretty cool people,
Yeah,
and you have a pretty diverse collection. Actually, it's
yeah,
not just Scarlet Spider, but it was kind of funny. Like whenever we're on, you know, Biggie's channel, you're always talking about Scarlet Spider as if that's the only character in comics, which is it's kind of funny. It's like, so it's a
well,
bit of
I
a.
do that for fun because
Mhm,
everyone brings out, like, on that little show of Biggie's, just
mhm.
the best in their collection, and
Yeah,
there's
yeah, yeah.
times where they set you loose and you're showing off these gems that people have never seen before. There's only two graded in the world, and then,
Yeah, yeah.
like, I have fun going, yeah, here's a dollar bin 9.8 Scarlet Spider book. So, but I am serious about collecting it. It's not a joke.
Yeah,
Like,
I know. I can tell that on your
yeah,
Instagram. Yeah, it's kind of funny though.
yeah.
Yeah. So, how did you like? What is Scarlet Spider actually your favorite character in this? In
I really say it's a tie between Superman and Scarlet Spider. Um,
Mhm.
Scarlet Spider has fewer issues of appearances where he's been in the book or on the
Mhm.
cover,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah,
I tend to collect more that way because someday I can get them all.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be that hard to get all the Scarlet Spiders. Getting all the Superman might be a little difficult.
yeah, but yeah, the Superman would be a really tough one to collect all of them. So, um, but then, but that works for me too because primarily I tend to want to collect things that I I maybe had read in the past.
Hmm.
With the exception of a few, like I didn't read Daredevil #1 when that came off the shelf,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I
yeah.
have one, like, but
That's cool.
for the most part, my collection is going to be books that I enjoyed reading as a kid, and I
Hmm.
love the cover, and I wanted to get a high grade copy of it.
Yeah, yeah. Are you a primarily a '90s collector, or what kind of era would you say you're?
'90s mostly, but I've got some from the '80s where some of my favorite villains are from the '80s, and
Mhm.
and yeah, mainly the '90s. Most of the Clone Saga stuff with Scarlet Spider happened in the '90s, so that's
Yeah, yeah.
usually where it lands.
It's funny. I always I try to like label all the ages of comics, and I call the '90s the plastic age because it's kind of like that kind of like there's gold, bronze, silver, and all that kind
Yeah,
of stuff. But I think '90s like I kind of associate it to the plastic age because it's kind of like I don't know, like gimmicky, like kind of plasticky in a way. I kind of, but it was a great age. I mean, it was a
Yeah.
fun time to be
It,
collecting comics.
there's not a lot of money in the 90s books. Like
No, and that's another reason.
there are some that a few that have some money behind it, but not a lot.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I like to call it the shiny age. Like
the
that's
tiny age.
a
Okay,
lot of
that's cool.
tiny covers from that time
Yeah,
that
yeah,
were made of plastic. So
yeah,
you both be
that's
right
true.
on that.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so how would you show some of your books, and then yeah, I'll make you big, and then you can show some of your key books.
Yeah. So you made me grab some of my favorite Scarlet Spider books. So
Yeah.
this is the Spider Clone's first appearance from 1975.
Wow, and a 9.8.
Yeah, no,
That's nice.
9/8 white pages. Um, very expensive books. So this is not a
Yeah.
dollar bin find. You find one of these in a 9/8. This is the same time of the same year and the same time frame as Giant Size X-Men #1. So
Yeah.
imagine that book being in a 9/8. Like obviously that one would be worth more, but still rare for this book to be in this high of a grade. So
Yeah,
um,
no, it's quite nice. I had that book, but it's in a much lower grade.
yeah, no, I had it in like a 9/4, and Matt, the boy who had 7, he kept ridiculing me, and he made me go after this one. So I
Yeah,
did
no, it's
eventually, I did eventually get it, and then the the Scarlet Spider, his biggest book is going to be Web of Spider-Man 118.
yep, first
Um,
appearance.
yep, and really cool back cover to it too. It's got the Maximum Carnage game on
Mm.
it. So one of my all-time favorite books right here. And then I also have The Newsstand,
Oh
which
wow.
is a very pricey book right now. Right around that $2,000 mark. So this is
Is
not
the
a
newsstand just that much rarer?
yeah, no, it's mid 90s newsstand though. That's a hard to find
Like one
time.
in 10? One
Yeah.
in 10 kind of level, or
Yeah, I think it's about in that range.
yeah.
So
Wow, that's really cool.
and then I went and got the second print, which could only be found on the back of the Scarlet Spider Toy Biz action figure.
Oh,
Um,
really? So
yeah,
you had
so
to mail in for it or something like that, or?
no, it was just on the figure, like it was part of the
Oh,
back.
okay.
It was like taped to the card of the figure.
But to
Um,
get that in like a 9.8 would be hard then.
so I couldn't find one when I got this. I was looking for one in a 9/8, and there was none on the census when I first went on my mission to get this.
Hmm.
By the time I had to buy a figure and send it off to CGC, and I got lucky, man. They pressed it really good, and it came back at 9/8. By the time it came back, there was another one, and it had already sold on eBay. But then when I looked it up,
Hmm.
because I was going through Go Collect, and
Hmm.
this was the book that was sold, and they slabbed it
Oh,
as the second print. And
oh, so they made a mistake. It wasn't even actually the second print.
correct. So there's 7 on the census. There's really only a true 6 out there, and you can tell because the second print has this big
Different back.
sticker.
Yeah.
Um, and
And also I noticed the box is different as well.
yep, the barcode is different.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that
That's interesting. So that's an extremely rare book.
yeah, no. So there's 7 9/8 on the census for that second print, and only 6 of them are real. So, to the point where I emailed Go Collect about it, and they took it down. They took the sale
Oh
off.
wow.
Yeah,
I mean, that's good of them that they took it down.
yeah. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, the other books that I like to collect here are Superman. We want to go into that,
Sure,
or
yeah, show it.
all right. So, I'll show you my 2 oldest Superman books. Um, both of these were AOKs from people in the community.
Wow.
One of them was from Man Cave, and he sent me
Okay.
an
He's a great
action
guy.
comic. Oh yeah, he's the
So many
best,
people say, "Oh, I got an AOK from Man Cave." I'm gonna have to get him interviewed. So he's
dude.
gonna be.
it's like getting blessed by the Pope, man. He just takes care of people.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
Action Comics number 63.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a big KOK.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I was like, whoa. So really, really cool book. And it's a World War II cover, so he
I know.
had a fondness for this book.
Yeah, I mean it's a propaganda cover too, like with
Yeah,
the typical Jap,
yeah.
That's really great.
No, so when he sent me this book, he didn't just send me a Superman book. He sent me a Superman book that he loved. So
Wow.
it meant
What
a
a great
lot.
guy.
Yeah. And then Comic Books NYC sent me this one.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, and it's a Valentine's Day story, which is kind of cool because my birthday is right around Valentine's Day, and he knew that when he bought it for
Okay.
me. So, and he sent it to me raw, so I had it graded, and it came back at 2.5, which, you know, man, this is back from 1944.
It
Uh,
looks actually quite sharp. It's just that
yeah,
one little spot on the spine. It looks
yeah, and
like.
there's a little bit of tape on the back cover here, and
Yeah.
so, but yeah, no, man, it's
It's really quite nice.
yeah, and when I saw this, it made me. I don't have a lot of them, but I know you do. But I love
I
how a
don't have that
golden
many,
age,
but sure.
but I love how a golden age book fills up the entire slab. It
Yeah,
is,
no, they're big. They're
yeah,
really
it's a
big.
completely different presentation than
Yeah.
a normal like modern size book. So
I
those are
like
my
the fact that he's holding Lois Lane there. It's pretty cool.
yeah. So those are my two golden age Superman books.
Very
Um,
nice.
from there, I go into the 80s with one of my all-time favorite villains. This is his first appearance, and first appearance of Superboy Prime.
Oh, wow.
Um,
That's a book that I don't have and I should get. That's very cool.
yeah, no, Superboy Prime is the main antagonist for a number of different crossover events in
Yeah,
DC,
yeah.
and he's super powerful. The way they describe his power set is he's as powerful as Superman was in the Silver Age, which
Oh,
was
okay.
unlimited.
Overpowered.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, man, just but I love Superboy Prime, and this is his first appearance, so I got that.
Very
And
nice.
I always love it when the back has a cool advertisement. And
Yeah, I like the
I,
ads sometimes almost as much as the front. It's
yeah,
kind of
and
funny.
I collected these figures as a kid, so I
Yeah, yeah.
just love that. So, um, but yeah, then we just go into a very common book that a lot of people have. I have the newsstand copy of Death of Superman.
Yeah. I
Um,
just recently picked that up, strangely enough.
Yeah, and this story is turning 30 years old on the
Soon.
19th. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. They're doing a whole bunch of like reprints right now for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then World Without Superman, it's got that last page is like a fold out. So you
Yeah.
see Superman really just kind of croaking out there. Yeah, man, I love this book, and I had a newsstand copy when I was a kid because I used to buy all my comic books from 7-Eleven.
Oh, wow.
This wasn't the original one that I had as a kid, but yeah, I was pretty excited to
You
have.
didn't have the long box filled with the Death of Superman or anything like that?
I did actually. I had a long box full of Death of Superman and all the Batman Adventures books, including the first appearance of Harley Quinn.
Oh,
It,
wow. That's a good one.
yeah, didn't keep it. Didn't think it would ever be worth anything.
Hmm.
But I know I read the heck out of it too. So
Hmm.
the likelihood of it being a high grade was not very very good. So, but yeah, man, that's my
What people don't realize is actually that newsstand is rare. That's actually
yeah
much rarer than like I think there's like only a few hundred on the census. It's not like the direct edition which has thousands on the census.
yeah. No, it's a pretty good newsstand to have.
Mm.
This one right here is such a low cost book, but it's my favorite issue from the Reign of the Superman, and it's also my favorite cover.
I remember that on the newsstand.
Yeah,
I didn't pick it up at the time, but it's a very cool book.
and it's a classic homage to Superman holding the flag. Um,
Hmm.
Beautiful artwork and story written through all the way out. And it's written from the perspective of the reporter that is replacing the dead Clark Kent,
Oh
as
wow.
Superman defends the White House from a terrorist attack.
Oh,
And
that's really cool.
then and there's even a Fantastic Four Easter egg in here. Um,
Fantastic Four.
yeah.
Like,
Um,
so like a weird crossover. Like,
no, it's just something that so Hank Henshaw is the guy that is, the cyborg Superman, and him and his crew were meant to be like a poor man's version of the Fantastic Four. Uh,
okay.
so instead of they all got powers, but they all passed away during their the discovery of their powers, with the exception of Hank Henshaw. They thought he had died, but turns out he can't be killed. He's pretty much immortal.
Mhm.
I will, man. We're gonna come back to the Easter egg. I can download it and I'll show it to you later. Um,
Okay, cool, cool. You can show me later.
yeah, but it's super cool. But
So
yeah,
is that the first appearance of like that sort of cyborg Superman or
no. First appearance was Adventures 500.
okay.
Um, what's that?
Okay, no, I'm just saying, okay, yeah, that's cool. I think I might have Adventures 500 because like I like getting those like centennial issues,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
And that was it has like three first appearances in it, but it was so overly purchased by comic book stores because
Yeah, it's like a dollar bin book.
yeah. Well, in every shop that had Death of Superman, they sold out and they went to like five different printings.
Hmm.
So people didn't thought that Adventures of Superman 500 would be exactly like that, so they over ordered. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. With
there's
Death of
one,
Superman, they produced 6 million copies.
yeah. Um,
Kind of funny.
so this one here is the conclusion to the reign of the Superman, and one of my all-time favorite covers.
No, that's nice. Yeah.
So um, love that. It's also a newsstand. This is one I sent out for grading myself because
Oh, nice.
I wanted to. I was having a hard time finding one on eBay because it's not hard to find because it's so rare. It's hard to find because not a lot of people graded this book. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is one that you bought off the newsstand or off the, from your local comic shop or
Local comic shop, and I bought it like recently, like a year or two
uh
ago. And it was sitting in a box, and I kept looking for a graded one, and it never came up. They also had a chromium edition of the
oh, that's
same
so
issue.
90s.
So
That's so
um,
great.
I like this one better because I just like the art better on this one. But I also love shiny covers, so I
No,
had
I
to get
like the shiny cover. So
yeah,
you're right though. The art is better on
yeah.
the non-shiny one, but the shiny one just it's like it's so nostalgic feels.
Yep.
Like that typical 90s foil.
So
Yeah.
I don't usually have all these books out at the same time. So one of the things, and it's my favorite thing in my collection, I'll show you in a minute. Um, I got the artists for both of these books, Dan Jurgens, to
Hmm.
kind of combine these two images for me on a sketch
Oh
cover.
wow. Oh
And
wow.
he's local to Minnesota, so I had him do this sketch cover for me.
Wow. That is really cool.
Yeah. And this is what getting this done is what got me back into collecting comic books. Because I had my buying them through the '90s, and eventually, I got interested in like sports and ladies and all that kind
Mhm.
of
Yeah,
stuff.
of course. Everyone sort of drops out of comics around in their late teens or yeah.
Yeah. But getting this done was such a fun experience for me, and then it made me look into how to get it preserved. So I didn't even
Mhm.
know about comic book grading at the time. Eventually I found that, CBCS will verify the signature. So I sent it to them for that. Took about 9 months to get it back because they were in the middle of moving from Florida to Texas at the time.
You're lucky you got it back, actually.
Yeah.
There's so many lost books from that era.
But
Yeah.
no, this is definitely one of my all-time favorites. And
That's really cool.
yeah, no, and when I told him about it, he was like, "Oh, that's a little bit more work than I try to do at a convention." And then
Mhm.
he thought about it. He's like, "It's a cool idea, though. Let's do it." So
Wow, that's really great. I
yeah.
mean, it's cool that you convinced them to do it for you.
But I didn't twist his arm. I was willing to get whatever he was willing to do. But this is
Mhm.
what I had in my head. So
Wow. Yeah, I like that. They should almost use that to for the, is it 30 years or 40 years now?
30 years, and yes,
30
that would
years.
have made an amazing
Yeah,
variant cover.
variant cover.
I don't think he thought of doing it. So, but it would have been cool to see him like re attempt that in a more professional way. That would have been a lot of fun. So here's that Easter egg that I was talking about. So Cyborg Superman, while saving the White House, is looking through all their computers, and then you see right here by my finger that's moving there. You see that little 4?
Oh
It's,
yeah, like it looks like the Fantastic Four.
yeah, and it
And
looks like it's
Green
cut off a
Lantern as
little.
well.
Yep. So I asked him about that while he was doing the sketch, and he confirmed it. He's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "I always meant for them to be a poor man's Fantastic Four, and I slipped that in there, and no one noticed." So it got,
Wow, you'd think that either Marvel or DC would get upset with that.
but it wasn't. Also, it wasn't done to disparage the Fantastic
Yeah, yeah,
Four or to overly promote them. So it,
yeah.
it it didn't hurt anyone to do it, and it was back before they were both owned by parent companies and whatnot. So
Yeah. That's really cool.
so my favorite read from that time frame is the rematch from Superman and Doomsday, and this is Superman Doomsday Hunter Prey,
Yeah, I
and it's
bought that off the newsstand way back
same.
in the day.
I biked to my local comic book shop, which um, at the time was a little farther away than I thought it was when I got on the bike, but um, I had to get it, and the art, storytelling, and the colors in here are just above what you would normally
Yeah,
see.
it was a very highly produced book. It was just very nice.
Yeah, and it gave in this issue it gave Doomsday a really cool origin,
Hmm.
where pretty much he was cloned and killed and cloned and killed over and over again to
Hmm.
force him through millions of years of evolution in like a 30-year
Short
span.
amount of time. Yeah, very short span of time. Yeah.
So very cool story. And I have a trade paperback of it so I can read it whenever I want, but the I had to get the 9.8s of this one. So
Wow, nice.
yeah,
I always like that when you have the set of 9/8. Like, what I mean? Like, when you have like the set of 9/8s, it's kind of cool. Like, you can show like book 1, 2, 3, 4, all
yeah,
9/8. Yeah, that's really cool. Like, I was like that as a display piece.
I absolutely agree. And getting the second issue of that was really tough.
Oh, really? Why
Not a
is that?
lot on the census.
It's just people didn't bother getting it graded, or
Correct. A lot of the books that I love, people did not want to bother getting them graded. So
yeah.
it
Well, I
makes
mean, a lot of the '90s books, they just don't have the value that you need to get it graded. Like, probably the resale value on a lot of those is like $50, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah,
No, and some of them go up to 100. And
yeah,
the
yeah.
newsstand Death of Superman can go for close to 300. So that's
Oh,
not
yeah. Oh, it's actually around 350, I think.
yeah.
That the Superman. Yeah.
So
I picked mine. I think when I picked mine up, I was so fluky because I picked it up off of Heritage, and I don't think people realized that it was a newsstand. So they were bidding like as if it was like the regular edition, and I got it for like 150.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
You're
it's
the
like
you're the jerk that drove down the fair market value of one of my favorite books.
yeah, I thought it was really cool. I was like so
Yeah.
excited when I won it.
No,
Um,
that is very cool. And I actually did notice a $150 sale of that book. So that's funny that it
yeah,
was.
that was me. So yeah. So did you have anything else you wanted to show, or
Yeah,
you
I
can
got a few. I
you
got
can, you can show as much as you want. That's
all
the
right.
great thing about this show. I just let people show as much as they want.
So now we're gonna dip into my Batman '90s books. So
Okay,
here we have Sword of Azrael,
I love
number,
that book.
and this is his first appearance.
See,
Uh,
all these ones, anything Batman from the '90s, I bought from the newsstand. I
yep,
had pretty much everything. I was a big
and
Azrael fan.
yeah, and it's a first appearance, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
definitely
Did
had
they
that.
bring? Are they like they're bringing him back, aren't they? Right
Yeah,
now.
no, they've used him in a number of ways. So, but yeah, it definitely a very cool character. Here's another great one. This
Oh
one
yeah.
I submitted myself. Um, it came back a 9.6, and I took it
Oh.
to C2E2 when they were doing on-site grading, and I just
Mhm.
cracked it out and handed it to him again, and it came back a 9.8.
So you didn't even press it or anything?
No, because it's a square bound book, which doesn't always press as well.
Oh yeah, I heard if you press square bounds, they can actually break
Yeah.
the
So,
spine.
but I knew it was a 9.8. Like whatever happened with that grader on a 9.6 grade
Just a
on
bad.
this was, yeah. So I wasn't cheating anything. It was a real
Yeah, yeah,
90. So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, man, got that one. Then here's another newsstand, which is Batman 497, where he gets his back broken.
I love that book too.
And this one is so important to have in a newsstand for me because the direct edition has this black
The black stripe.
insert, yeah, the insert thing.
It's supposed to be protecting the spine. That's what it's supposed to do.
Well, it just ruined a very iconic comic book cover, in my opinion. The newsstand doesn't have that issue, so
Yeah.
uh, yeah, definitely a pricier book in a newsstand, but I was definitely glad to pick this one up.
To me, that's like that and the death of Superman are like the two most iconic '90s events for DC.
Yeah, absolutely, not even close.
Yeah.
And they were fun. I mean, some people say they ruined comic
I
books.
really that series I really enjoyed. Yeah, that was one of the few series that I read at that time that I really enjoyed.
Then here we have Batman number 500.
Hmm.
And this is, you can't really see it here, but um, if this weren't in
It's
the
a flip
slab,
out.
yeah,
Yeah.
this character folds over and you see the Azrael Batman costume underneath.
Hmm.
Very cool book to have.
Yeah, I really for some reason in the '90s I really spec'd on that book, that one particular book, and I bought like 3 copies of it. That was like a lot for me to buy 3 copies of
Yeah.
anything.
Then here's just another foil cover. I
I
love
like
this
that one too.
one.
Yeah,
And to me, it's like a low key Secret Wars 8 homage.
yeah, yeah.
So I enjoy that. It's got the orange background and kind of doing the
Hmm.
jazz hands. So
Yeah, yeah, and that pose, yeah,
yeah,
typical pose.
so I
Yeah, yeah.
really like that one. Um, and then what else do I got here? Um, I got a couple X-Men books that I grabbed. None of my big ones, but I got my X-Men number 4, the first
Oh,
appearance
yeah,
of
yeah.
Omega Red, which this one has a sentimental value to me. It was the last Christmas present my mom got me before she passed away.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was definitely it was a keeper anyways, but this one will just
Extra
always,
sentimentality.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and it's got the little tiger handheld game on the back, which
Oh,
I
wow.
I had, which was awful. Even for being a Tiger handheld game, it was terrible.
That's
Um,
funny.
but yeah, so love this book. This next one is not a cheap one at all, but it's another one of my favorites.
Oh, Gambit.
Yeah, it's the gold edition of this book.
I remember those gold editions, like, and they would like even at the time, they would be like $50 right off the bat, or
Yep.
$100, some crazy amount. They'd instantly go up on the wall, and they would always be like some expensive price. But the gold ones are really cool.
Yeah, and this is going for close to $1,000 right now. So
Oh wow.
in a 9.8,
Yeah.
which I was super excited because I found this for already graded for about $300. And then within a couple of weeks, it was 500, 700, 800, 1,000. And so,
Oh wow. So it just went through the roof. But Gambit was one like those gold ones, they were like 1 in 100 kind of variants kind of style. Is how
I don't know the ratio, but I know it's rare. And
yeah.
It's also very hard to keep this in a 9.8. So
yeah, imagine it's sort of similar to a black cover where everything shows. Oh, and
it
it's black.
has a black cover on the back. So
that's like a mirror.
Yeah, it's a tough one. And then my even more favorite than the Clone Saga, I loved the Age of Apocalypse more than any other story from the 90s. And this is the gold edition of the book.
Mm.
And they say gold, but it's more like a prism. But
yeah. That was another one that I picked up way back when. I loved that cover. I was really into the foily, blingy kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it's really great.
So I love this one. I actually sent one of these to Man Cave because it's one of my favorite books. He sent me one of his favorite. I sent him one of mine. And
that's really great.
Yeah, and this is about set you back about 500 to get a 9.8 in this. So
oh wow,
not a lightweight book by any means. And then the end of the Age of Apocalypse, I have the gold edition of that too.
Those are really great covers, actually. Like I actually like the shiniest, and they just really pop, and they're just so fun.
Yeah, no, it definitely shouldn't be an every issue thing, but
yeah, when they did it too much, that was the problem.
Yeah,
but it is really cool. Like by itself, like that, it's just awesome.
So yeah, man, I love that. And then I also got my first appearance Kyle Rayner.
Yeah.
That's a cool one, and it's got a cool little RoboCop 3 ad on the back, which RoboCop is my ringtone on my phone. I love.
Oh, really? Wow.
The RoboCop theme music is phenomenal.
I loved RoboCop, the movie.
Yeah. Dead or alive, you're coming with me.
Yeah.
Then I grabbed a couple bangers. I got to have your Ultimate Fallout 4.
Yeah. That's sort of a prerequisite nowadays. And you actually got the special label too.
I did, yeah. I don't know how I feel about it. It puts the keynotes on the back, but I like the custom labels. They don't bother me.
Yeah.
And then the spider blend.
Yeah.
And this I had to grab from downstairs. It's like the two books I like to display in like my family room area.
Yeah, I do the same. Well, with I have those two books right next to each other in my comic room. Like you never see them on camera in my room, but they're always in front of me when I'm filming. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah, no, and it's.
I love those two books. So yeah.
Yeah, and then
to me, those are I would say that's like the Action 1 and All-Star 8 of the modern era. It's like kind of the two big characters from this modern era.
And then man, I'll show you my Daredevil number 1.
Actually, it's a fairly good grade too.
Yeah, no, I love 4.5 grade in Silver Age for this time frame. It's a very nice grade. It's complete. Staples are there,
and nothing really major wrong with it. Yeah.
And to me, like a 4.5 represents a book that has been read, but also fairly well preserved for
Hmm.
this book is, wow, it's going on about 60 years old now. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like 64, was it?
yeah, 64. So it's about 58, 59 years old now. So
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, Daredevil's getting up there in age.
Yeah. He's in good shape though. Don't worry.
Yeah, no, he's spry for someone in his late 50s.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome.
But yeah, man, I think those are the books that I brought to the show here. I mean,
Oh, those are all great books. Very road trip down memory lane for me because I collected all those books like during the 90s. I was all in. I was like, I think the 90s, the comic boom back then was just it was a machine. Everybody just it was like just you'd go to the local comic book shop, everyone would talk comics, and you just get all pumped up and like, oh, this is Death of Spider-Man, and it's like, or Death of Superman. I mean,
yeah.
and it was like everybody was talking about it. Everybody was filling up their long boxes. I ordered 50 copies. No, I ordered 100 copies. It was a fun time.
Yeah. Well, and that's where my parents told me to go buy it because they said that I'd be able to buy a house with it someday.
Yeah, exactly.
And they weren't collectors. They didn't know the ins and out. But I think there were a lot of people that were under that impression that,
Mhm.
a $1.50 or $1.25 will turn into a $10,000-$15,000 book down the road. And
Yeah, yeah.
it didn't turn out that way, but some books do, so
I mean, still, actually, the newsstand 350. It's not
yep.
too bad of a return, even though it's not house buying level unless you live in a really small house. Um, but it is,
I could buy two
something.
houses.
Exactly. So what books are you hunting now? Like, what are you chasing?
I am trying to get every book that Scarlet Spider was on the cover in a 9.8.
Oh wow,
So
that's a challenge actually.
I've
How
got,
many do you know how many books do you have a list of all of them or?
yeah, well, I have it all on the CDC registry. So
Mhm.
I know I've got over 70 books. And
Wow.
yeah.
That's see, when I introduced you, I said you're the man
Yeah.
for that. That one thing, not maybe like what normal people chase after, but
Yeah.
somebody has to chase it. And it's pretty cool that you have like that impressed. That's like, to me, that's impressive.
And
And
I'm number 2 on the registry. There's the number 1 guy
oh,
who
you gotta
actually,
beat him.
you know what? And at first I was like, man, I hate this guy, but he's actually pretty nice. I His name on the registry is the name of his comic book warehouse that he sells books out of.
Oh
And I
wow.
looked him up to and I just Googled the name, and sure enough, his website comes up and it says, contact me if you want to buy anything. And I called him and asked about buying a few books, and he didn't want to
Mhm.
sell the ones that I wanted to buy because he's also,
Those are the keys. Yeah.
and he's got, he's a dealer. Like he's got
Mhm.
AF-15, he's got, all the big, grail books.
Mhm.
But the ones that he is not selling are his Scarlet Spider books, um, which I think is funny.
Yeah, it
And
is funny.
but he's also helped me to get some of the ones that I need because he had doubles. So
Mhm.
the ones I called him about, he couldn't help me with, but he's helped me. He's probably added about 8 to 9 books in my collection
Mhm.
from his that, he sold me, outside of eBay, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's really cool. So how many are you missing for the complete collection of Scarlet
Oh man,
Spider?
I think it's about 200
Oh
plus.
wow, there's
Yeah.
that many? I wouldn't have thought it was that many. I didn't.
It's a flawed registry because there are some books on that registry where I know for a fact Scarlet Spider is not in that issue. And I
Mhm.
actually would go to like my Marvel Unlimited subscription and verify it, and
Yeah, yeah.
it's not there. So
So that's 200 issues that are like he's just in the story, or is it on the cover as well?
in the story, and not always on the cover. Um,
Hmm.
so instead of going after all 200 of those, I'm going to go after
Focus
the
on the
ones that,
covers.
yeah,
I mean, if it's in a slab, anyways, you're not going to see the
exactly.
interior.
And I've got the ability to read those books when I've read them many times. So I've got
Mhm.
all my reader copies set.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, but the cover is what I'm looking for. I love collecting 9.8 90s books.
yeah, yeah. No, it's kind of funny. So, I mean, is it the case that you could sort of maybe pick up like a raw copy of those books that you're missing for cheap and then submit them, or is it just
That's
hard to
a
get?
that's a tough thing to do because like you see the book that's right over my shoulder here.
Yeah, yeah,
If I had set, and I bought this one graded, but if I had bought a raw copy and sent it off,
yeah. Hmm.
so the, get it from the dollar bin, shipping, grading, it
I
comes
know it can
back,
be actually more expensive.
and if it's a 9.6,
Then you're screwed.
then it's useless. It will never sell ever,
Hmm.
and I wouldn't want it in my collection. So for this particular goal, I really need to find it graded. The only thing that would make me not do that would be if I couldn't find one on the census.
Yeah. Imagine though, a few of them, like, there's going to be like those odd issues where nobody's going to bother to get it graded.
I've got there's several from that series where I have one of two on 9/8 on the census, and
Yeah,
that
that's
other
pretty cool.
guy has the other one.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
so cool. That's
yeah,
cool. Like, do you guys talk about Scotty? Do you guys
yeah.
like hang out?
No, we both collect some of the original art, and
Oh wow,
so we're always sending each other our. He's a cool guy, man. We text and
that's really
um,
fun. Like,
yeah,
I think that's what really is great about the hobby. You can meet these other people that have like that common interest. Like
yeah.
even
Well,
if
and
it's
what
in
was,
Scarlet
what was
Spider.
weird when I called him, he was like, "How did you find my number?" He was like initially creeped out by it.
Hmm.
And I was like, "Whoa, hold on, man! Like your username is the name of your company," and I just Googled that, and
Hmm.
and it sounded familiar to me because I'd already bought a book from him on eBay.
Okay.
So he's like, "Oh, that makes sense, man. I'm just not used to people saying, 'Hey, I saw your book on the registry,' and then they call me." And I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
yeah,
like if you want to change that, you got to change your name on the registry because
yeah.
it's the name of your company." So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's really cool. So yeah, I wonder how do you know how close he is to completing the collection?
the full collection, he's at about 75%
Okay, so
of the
he's
200. And there's
wow.
some that are not doable almost. Like they're
Like what's the like the grail of the grail for Scarlet Spider or rarest?
well, we both have the biggest ones
Mhm.
of Scarlet Spider. The hardest one for me to find right now is What If number 30 in a 9.8.
What
Um,
if number 30? Okay, if I ever see it, I will definitely tell you.
please do. I will finder's fee and all that stuff.
Don't worry about that.
But
But yeah,
I'll pull it up here.
what
It's
if number 30?
What If Spider-Man's Clone Lived.
I've seen that book before,
Yeah,
but not as a 9/8,
yeah, and
but
I've got
as
it as an 8.5 as a placeholder, but I'm not
mhm.
satisfied with that. I
Yeah,
really,
you want that 9/8 set.
yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. It's a good. I kind of like that. That goal setting. That kind of.
yeah,
I do the same, right? But mine's totally unrealistic. But
yeah. Well, and that is one of the oddest what if stories you'll ever read. It really has a happy ending to it.
oh, really?
And so many what if issues are end on
Usually, it's some dystopian kind of situation.
yeah.
Like,
And what's more weird about that is Ben Riley never has a good ending to a story.
yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
always dying or finding out that he's the clone or
Hmm.
dying again or now he's a bad guy and then he's a good guy but he's not mentally well and oh now he's a bad guy again. Like he just has this really terrible run of luck in the books.
Oh, that's funny.
Where fans of his actually get pretty upset about it. They want to see Ben Reilly win something, you know?
Yeah, well, you never know. They're coming out with the Spider-Verse 2 movie, right?
Yep.
And I heard he's in it.
I keep hearing that too. I'm really looking forward to it. I hope he is. I hope he gets some good screen time too. I don't want it to just be a, if he gets
like like one of the people you just sort of fly by and that's it.
Well, if he gets the same like screen time that like Spider-Man Noir got in the first,
I think that's what it's going to be. Personally, I think it's going to be him, Spider-Punk, because they're pushing Spider-Punk right now.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be him, Spider-Punk. Obviously Gwen Stacy's, Spider-Gwen, I should say, and Miles Morales. But those ones I definitely think are going to be the key characters in the story, because they seem to. I think that's what they like to do. They like to have that team of Spider-Men.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think, that'd be really cool. I'd like to see that. I think it'd be fun.
And don't be surprised if he dies at the
end. Yeah, he's one of the dead ones.
Yep.
That'd be so sad. Oh well.
I would almost kind of just laugh it off, like, of course he died.
But he'll be brought back. Don't worry. They always bring him back.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. So, well, how do people find you? Where, what are you up to and that kind of stuff? Like,
my YouTube channel has been really slow as of late due to some personal business that's been going on. But I plan to rectify that in the near future. That issue has corrected itself. But I'm still very active on Instagram. And like I'm doing here with you, like if someone hits me up and asks me to come on their channel, I'm always down for that. I have very little work I have to do to make an appearance on your show.
So you see, like I'm all stubbly too. So this is very like, just so the audience knows, this was very like last second kind of planning kind of.
Yeah, I love that.
Just random. Let's randomly do this. Okay, it's gonna be fun.
It's no shade November, man. You got to let it go all month.
Oh, that's right. Actually, I did that one year, and it just got so itchy. I just couldn't do it anymore. I just shaved it all. I just couldn't. I made it 2 weeks, and then it just got too bad.
It gets really itchy down here, but if you get past it for like a day or two,
I couldn't handle it. I was going insane. I couldn't sleep. I was going crazy. It was just like, it was all like, it was full, but it was like scraggly full. You know what I mean? Like just like, it was just like,
like unwell.
Yeah. It looked I needed it groomed. It didn't, it looked like I looked like a homeless. I looked like a hobo. So I didn't like that. So,
I got a haircut recently where, my beard was and my hair was all wild, and I go and I tell the lady, don't do anything to my sideburns, because when I get home from the haircut, I'll even it out and I'll trim the beard. So she heard that as I'm going to shave my beard. So she actually and
oh wow,
yeah, and I can tell you that it's been a long time since I was really upset while getting a haircut. But I was really proud of myself. I didn't even tell her she did anything wrong. Like, what does it do me? What do I win by shaming her?
At that point. Yeah. No, I had a similar experience.
So
really bad.
And I was like, oh, don't get the other side.
Yeah, my wife and I, she's Korean. And so what happened was I was going to go meet her in Korea. So she was living with me in Canada for a while, but then she had to go back to Korea to finish her university. So I hadn't seen her for like a month, sort of in between where I was flying back to see her. So I decided, okay, I'm going to look cool. I'm going to look sharp. I'm going to look really awesome. Get a haircut right, the day before, and look great for her. So the guy that normally does my hair, he wasn't available for whatever reason. So the only option was student haircutters.
Oh.
So I went to the student haircutter, and the guy was like, he was just cutting, and he goes, oops. And then the teacher would go over And the teacher was like, "Oh, it's okay. You just cut it on the other side, level it out, it'll be fine." And he kept on going, "Oops, oops." And so my hair just got shorter and shorter. Like I had really long hair at that time. I had like
Yeah.
hair down to, like it was like really full. That's when I had hair. Um, and so I looked like it took 2 hours to get this haircut. It was a 2 hour. It was an endurance test. I was like, oh my god! And every time, every like few minutes, they would say, "Oops," and it was just like. So then when I saw my wife at the airport in Korea, she was like, "Who the hell is that? Like, what is wrong with this guy? He looks terrible." And like her parents were there and they were like looking at me kind of weird. And my hair was terrible. It was just like, it was so embarrassing. But yeah, that's my horrible haircut story. So yeah, but
Oh,
yeah, it was really great having you on the channel, by the way.
hey man, I appreciate you for having me on.
And I was telling a few people about this. This is like my plan for part twos of these kind of interview shows. I'm planning that, once I do like a whole bunch of interviews, then I'll do a part two where I bring people back onto the show, but with a twist that I get them to do a comic, like sort of man cave room tour kind of thing, where they do a kind of a room tour with me. So something that maybe, I'll bring you back and maybe we could do that and you can.
I'm fully prepared for a room tour. I've recently renovated my comic book room, so we're not going to show it to you today, though. You got to stay tuned.
Yeah,
for
you gotta wait. You gotta wait for part two. That's
Yeah.
Whenever that happens. I always have these cool plans and then they happen, but it takes a while.
No, totally.
So it'd be really cool. And you have to, if you do that, we have to see all like 200 Scarlet Spiders by that time. So that'd make it extra exciting.
That would be awesome.
Okay, well, thanks again for coming on to the show. And to all my people watching, check out DeRunk's Instagram and also his YouTube. The links will be in the description. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now.